1 in 5 teenagers has an AI girlfriend. That's the stat we're about to break apart in the High Tech Podcast today. If that terrifies you, welcome to the club. But we're going to actually try to figure out if that's actually true, what the answers are, and give our hot takes on this topic right here. What is up, folks? Welcome to the High Tech Podcast, another week of high-tech hijinks, conversations about technology, and whatever the heck Will and I want to talk about, because at this point, on this many episodes of the High Tech Podcast, we can do whatever we want. That's where we're at.
You know, we really skipped past episode 250. Milestone. That's like 2 episodes ago.
Oh, yeah, we did.
This is episode 252, and we did it,
We did 250 episodes.
We never acknowledged it.
That's a milestone. When you're just pushing them out like we are, Will, you don't even think about it,
Hey, we got a chance here to catch Steve Miletto, right? He took a break for a little bit. He hasn't.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, every time he takes a break, we get closer to catching.
Just gives us a chance to get to 800 before he gets to 1,000.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, welcome, folks, to another week of the High Tech Podcast. That beautiful voice right there is my co-host Will, and my voice that I'm sure is perfectly great too. I'm Josh. Thanks. Yeah, I just felt very. I was waiting for a compliment. It kind of felt like I had to give it to myself.
You set me up to set you up.
Yeah, that's the vibe. Anyway, yes, welcome to another week. We're going to jump into quite some interesting topics this week. But before we do, just a reminder, we are on the interwebs. That's currently how you're listening to us in some form or fashion, I believe, unless somebody sent you a legal download of our episode. I don't know. I would be honestly flattered if somebody got us off of
pirating the podcast,
the equivalent of LimeWire. I wouldn't even be offended. I would be super happy about that. Anyway, no. Remember, we're on the socials, all those things, the places people connect with each other on the internet. You can find us at High Tech Podcast or at High Tech Pod on any of those. Make sure if you listen to us to subscribe wherever you're listening. Spotify, YouTube, the other places, Apple Podcasts, I don't know, some of those places. Subscribe to us there so you can get every new episode that you're listening to. Reminder, you can also email us at inbox@hightechpod.us. We've had a couple guests. Surprise, how they talked to us is not smoke signals. They did not go to Will's house because we only gave his address away that one time. Just joking. They email us inbox@hightechpod.us. So if you want to be a part of the podcast, you want to let us know how you're thinking about what we said. Something we said offended you. I don't know. Tell Will.
That's the most likely
us at inbox@hightechpod.us. And a reminder, we have a website, hightechpod.us as well. You can check out all that fun extra stuff we give with the episode. Sometimes it's articles. That'll probably be what we're doing on this episode. Sometimes it's links to our Topia worlds. Whatever happens, they're there on that website. High Tech Pod.
We've got a new podcast, guys.
.us. It's been a while since we've done 2 episodes in one night, breaking the fourth wall. So
yeah.
Will and I are not as practiced at this as we were when we were youngins back in episode 1 through 10. Yeah, so when I was a little bit less gray back then. Anyway, so as I said in our opener here, there is a new stat, not necessarily new, apparently, as Will and I dug a bit deeper. This has been going around for a little while, but it's a stat that 1 in 5 teenagers has an AI girlfriend. Now, first, let's break. First, sorry, when you say every time I say it gets worse. No, Will, the article you read, you looked at, the stat, it wasn't, well, that's the headline. The stat wasn't actually 1 in 5 necessarily as AI girlfriend. It was specifically, what was it? Either has one or knows a friend.
Right.
Who has had one? Is that the
survey
vibe?
Was performed in the United Kingdom, so it was of young boys 12 to 16. Did they either have or know someone who had an AI girlfriend or AI relationship? Right. Don't need to be too specific of a gender. They did survey just males, but the reporting result was 80% of youth. These folks had or knew somebody who had an AI relationship.
Sorry.
This is, we'll come around to more of the details of this later, but I don't think that this is necessarily something that's been deeply researched. It's not like this is a huge academic or scholarly pursuit just yet. There's some pop science or whatever.
Jumping at the bit to research AI relationships?
Because of two reasons. One, this is novel. This isn't AI was not this good a few years back. But so here's how this episode came to us. I was talking with a colleague, and he brought this up. And he watched an episode of what they call Question Time in the UK. And the researchers or some of the people involved were on the episode. And so that's how this came to me. But I am not joking, okay? My colleague mentioned this to me. Shout out, Jack, if you do ever listen to this. And he said
Love that
this
guy.
story.
Never met him.
And I just jaw dropped, dude. Like, I couldn't fathom the truth of this. Like, if you asked me, oh my gosh, have you heard of this guy who made $1 million on AI? Yeah, sure. Have you heard of this guy who used AI to find his long lost mother? Yeah, sure. Have you heard of a guy, like if somebody went down that list of have you heard of a guy who, if you said who had a girlfriend in
this
AI.
This would have been your first bet? Come on, man. Like, listen, I think
really?
This is, okay.
This doesn't surprise you?
No, this doesn't surprise me at all.
On.
Okay, let's focus here first. Okay,
hold on.
Let's focus here first. Okay, sex, money, power. Okay, that's like the principles, man. So like, what is humanity gonna do when they get a hold of robots? Are you kidding me? It's gonna be make $1 million, and it's gonna be do creepy stuff and stuff that's not okay. Like I don't know. I don't know what is going to end up in the High Tech Club episode right now, but I have a feeling you're probably going to want to go become a High Tech Club member because I may say some things that we put there.
All right, folks, we're just taking a quick break from the episode to remind you about the High Tech Club. If you want to be a club member, you can support the podcast by contributing $3 a month or at a yearly rate, just $30. That helps us keep the podcast running, keeps the costs low for us, and it provides a number of benefits for you. Like, Josh?
Like getting to see our faces more. That's one. I think that's a benefit, personally. You get extended cuts of the episodes. So our episodes are a certain length that we release on our platforms, but you're going to get the full unedited versions of all the high-tech hijinks that happens on those episodes. You also get a unique link to be able to vote on ideas for future episodes. Will and I have a huge list of ideas at any time for what we're going to be talking about. We'd love to hear from you as members about what we talk about on the podcast. And so you'll be able to vote through that as well. And then some other stuff is going to be coming here, hopefully in the next handful of months as a High Tech Club member, including merchandise. So you have to keep an eye out for that. We'll keep you updated in that area.
And no future interruptions. You get these ads to go away.
If you're tired of us talking like this, subscribe. Become a member.
We appreciate it. Head over to hightechpod.us to get more information. As always, you can find all of our links there for subscribing and supporting the podcast.
Link will also be in the description of the video of the episode, so make sure you can check that out as well.
Boom.
But I would have bet money on this. I mean, history speaks to this, man. Like and especially put past my joke, right? Before we dive deep into what we should actually think about this, right? Like, if my other bet of why you would have seen this is if we're looking at a younger generation that people keep arguing have had social problems over the years, right? Because of COVID and a lot of other things. And you know my opinion on this. I think some of that's blown out of proportion a little bit.
Right.
But it's not untrue entirely. You can't push past some of the research behind that, right? And look at how education has changed. Just go to some of our episodes with Justin on this. So if you put that like primed space into place and then you hand like a robot that removes all the friction from relationship, right? Like that thinks all your ideas are amazing. And like, you know what I mean? Like that's prime energy for this to happen. You know?
Now that I know about it, honestly, I'm not surprised. But like until I had thought of this, and
you'd get a better view of people, I guess.
I want to toot my own little innocent horn, maybe. Like I couldn't fathom this. I would not have come up with this idea myself. And I think this is a good thing, Josh. I think it's a good thing.
I would like to just make it clear, I also wasn't gonna like invent this idea. I just this is the clear difference between you and me on this podcast. Okay,
I've actually wiped away tears.
Yes,
so.
you believe in people. Okay, I don't.
Yeah.
That's
well
not true.
said.
Okay, I do.
Yeah, we don't have to wax too philosophical here on your side of it. No, you're right. Yeah. You're right. Like I think I brought to this maybe a bit more of a optimistic or whatever, but like
I mean, we made a movie about it before it was a thing. Sorry, I'm just saying, like, Her came out before GPT.
You're right.
Was really popular.
Wait a second, right? Isn't Her the one where they use ScarJo's voice?
Yes,
for it,
like the criticism of why the GPT's voice kind of sounds like ScarJo's voice.
Well, it became a lawsuit.
Because of the Her movie.
This is putting a lot of things together for me. So now that I'm not surprised that little horn dogs are all out there on AI trying to make relationships for themselves. The facts are the facts, folks. We can't ignore the human element of this. Well, like, these are hormonally charged young people who are just seeking not only a physical or whatever expression of their own body and their experience in that time of life, but like Josh, like you said, there's kind of some socio-emotional debt in the last few generations. Coming through educational changes, COVID, but just this modern moment of growing up in front of screens is creating, I'm going to hold on to this emotional debt, the socio-emotional debt that some youth are trying to fill the hole with this AI relationship.
Yes. Now, what Will and I have been able to uncover looking into this, because this article that triggered Will stuff triggered us to dig into it a little bit deeper. There's been a lot of different individual research things that have happened over the last couple of years, specifically the last year, that we can track really since October, that's been digging into things that are contributing to this this stat that they're coming out with. And so I think it is important to note that when some of the researchers are breaking this apart, when they're talking about this, they're not just talking about like a relationship dating relationship. They're talking about like either have asked AI for advice in relationships or like are looking for AI as a proxy in relationship in some way. And so I think that's an important clarification. Now, I think it is worth digging into the research for a second, because Will and I have talked about, like, don't ignore the facts. I mean, Will, based on what we've looked at, I do think there's some questions in the research. This isn't like a scientific academic research, hasn't really been done yet at this point. It seems this is more like survey result, like questioning type of stuff, which is not necessarily wrong. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying it's not the jazzy headline of 1 in 5 teenagers have an AI girlfriend. I don't think is entirely the truth here. I think there's something. I don't think we've quite fully uncovered what's happening yet.
So we'd seen some work come out of the US CDT. The item being referenced on Question Time and from the UK is from an organization called UK Male Allies. And of course, Common Sense Media, a very popular international resource on tech, media, tools, etc., trying to help parents and schools, apply common sense to things. So Common Sense, all three of these have put a little bit of effort into this and are researching this effect. It's not, the headline goes for the relationship thing, the girlfriend thing, but it's not just that. And I've even heard of some older folks, right? Maybe folks who are either widowed or widowers, that they're without relationships, turning to AI and at the very least, giving their AI a persona. I talked to Jim or Greg or Susie.
Oh yeah,
they give it a name.
I've been with a certain. I don't think this is stereotyping. I've been with a certain age group above, and they all seem to like give names to the AI tool in ways that like Will and I might joke about, but I've never like given my tool a name. The closest I've come to that is like at one point when Notion only had one agenic feature, I nicknamed it R2D2. But like even then I was still nicknaming it a robot. Like, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like,
well, and that's like the people I've met. They're family. Like I have people. I'm not trying to out people. specifically.
Mine are not all, by the way. There's some of them are professionals. I'm not noting. Yep. Yeah. Okay.
But like, they'll either refer to it as GPT, they give it a little, oh, Monsieur GPT, like they call Chat GPT with a little bit of an accent. They'll give it just a straight out name, Greg. Like there's a humanization or an anthropomorphism that takes place with this digital entity to make it more comfortable, to even have a little bit of a conversation with it, as opposed to, I think what you and I tend to do is it's very tactical, very practical. It's like, hey, give me this, fix that, tweak this. But that comparison, what you and I might do with it for how we work with AI productively, someone else picks it up and goes, oh, I want to ask a question. I want to think something through. I want to talk to it real quick, right? And that's a different attitude on even how they're trying to approach it, use it. So, there's a lot going on with what's happening in the study. This is a specific age range. That also means that they're schooled, they're in school, so it's their peers are all in similar contexts, right? Like they're asking them about their age. If you did the same question, do you have or do you know someone that has an AI relationship with 25 to 30-year-olds? I think the sample size is going to dramatically change because there's differences in the ages, but like, kids from the 12 to 16-year-old range are just with kids in the 12 to 16-year-old range. Like they're all with each other. You don't have thankfully, you shouldn't have 16-year-olds hang out with 30-year-olds all the time necessarily, right? Like those age brackets are going to change how this survey reports. But also, as we go 30 years into the future, maybe 25-year-olds are having more.
Well, yeah.
AI
okay. So what the study's actually saying is, let's stop there for a second, but then I want to go back to what should we actually be worried about here, right? So the study itself at this point, I think it's fair to say, I don't know it's common enough to say like culture has changed. You know what I mean? Like I keep seeing these AI conversations. It's like, we found this thing out. Culture has now changed. It's like, okay, it's been 5 years. Can we chill for a second? Like, can we just like hang out? So like, but the numbers are big enough that like, it's not something that's not happening. Right. You know what I mean? Like it's, and I think it makes sense that it's happening in some ways. The AI tools are getting smarter. They're getting better at communicating back and forth and sounding like a human. I mean, we make jokes about how nice it is about things or how it'll apologize about stuff. So like, it makes sense to me that this is happening. So what's the study actually saying? I don't think there's necessarily like a hard number on culture has now shifted. Our entire young generation is now addicted to robots. Like, I don't think that's what it's saying. I do think we're seeing what naturally we would have expected, which is if you start to build AI models that sound humans, and you reduce, and I think this is a key, is designed to remove all friction from the conversation, right? And make you feel good about yourself and make you feel good about what you're doing. In a world where people aren't getting that other places, history speaks to the fact they're going to look for it in other spaces. And 12 to 16-year-olds, as somebody who's worked a lot with that age, it's a very developmental part of your life, right? And relationships are awkward, and they were already uncomfortable back when we had MySpace, let alone now when you've had COVID and all this other stuff we're dealing with. It makes sense that this would be happening in some ways, right? I think that's a piece that makes sense to me.
You've rightly captured an element of the difference that we are experiencing with the technology. Like there's less friction, there's more. It responds easier, it responds smarter, and here's why I do think there's cause for worry. I remember on AOL Instant Messenger downloading. I spent years on AIM, dude. I was on there probably from 11 or 12 years old to like 17.
It was always
18.
open on the side of my like on my computer. Yep. There was always like the little chat bar tool.
But here we are. We're saying this, and so I would play with those bots. I would mess around with them. I'd ask them questions. I'd make them say funny stuff, right? But they were answer and response, a call and response kind of tools, right? Like they had pre-programmed responses. You could get them to loop. You could get them to say the same thing 6 times. You could get them to reach the end of their
the stuff that was not human response on there was just basic chatbots.
In a world where you and I had that special sound for the cute girl, and we had cool black and green text, or all the customizations we did for AIM, And we had these
accessibility
bots
back
we were
then.
messing with. I would play Hangman. I remember playing Hangman with a specific bot, right?
I remember that.
That was what was available to us, right? And we took advantage of it and we used it. You think about this like 1 million times more capable tool that's in the hands of 12-year-olds today, and now I'm full circle. It all makes sense. I was wrong. Of course these kids would be doing this, right? Like I shouldn't be surprised.
Will realized how naive he is.
The
about
most
this.
naive.
Yeah.
You know, I would hope, I'm going to be very frank, I would hope that GPT, Claude, these top-notch, like, premium enterprise tools are out there and have enough protections to not allow the tools to get explicit. I really do hope. I don't want to know. I don't know. We did not research this ahead of time.
The problem is that's not happening. I mean, you saw GPT backtracked on that. I only know this because it was coming up in this area. Have you not followed this at all?
No.
The GPT, like GPT originally was like against that, and then they opened that back up, like explicit stuff. This hit the news a couple.
So it is
6 or 7 months ago. Yeah,
these
so I've obviously never done that with GPT, but like I know from because I remember distinctly I was speaking at a session with people and somebody asked me about this. About what it is. So it's fully capable of this stuff. They backtrack. I don't want to be, and this is one of the problems, right? The criticisms that's coming. This is why you're seeing, if you've been following our episodes the last couple months, you know we've talked a couple times about political conversations and committees that have happened around technology, and this is part of the reason this is rising up. One, because social media has not been managing this well, and now Will and I fall kind of in a middle ground where we have to be careful about over controlling to the point that you're infringing on freedom on the internet. And as I maybe made a comment, I think when we were talking the social media stuff, at some points I feel like we're asking the government to parent for us instead of parent our kids normally. I can say that now that I have a kid. But the that's a whole other part of this, right? But the thing that's pushing this is also the social media side of, or not social media, is the AI side of this. You're not seeing tools putting parameters in place. There's been criticisms of OpenAI saying if you don't remove this, you're supporting this being available to even kids.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, and sure, you can put age restrictions in, but like we know how all that works. Like, unless they do this verification thing, which I think has some serious ethical concerns broader than that. I don't have better answers, but I still don't think like
I don't think that this is the answer.
Policing in the internet the way that they want to do is actually the answer either, because the opposite side of this is give the government too much power, and sure, history says they're great.
Governments are great with total power over their citizens.
Everybody does
so
great with total power. It's an interesting area.
It's a real problem now. We've really played these details out, and we see the kind of functional difference between when we were 12 or when we were 15 and when kids today are dealing with this. And to think that they would be not only getting kind of the emotional connection they long for, it's attention. They're getting attention from something, right? There's the potential that they
connection too, right? In some way, like
right.
If you struggle to have these conversations with real people, because there is friction in it, right? It's not always perfect, especially when you're that age too. Though the kids, if you're listening, you're 16. I hate to tell you, it doesn't get better when you're 30. It just becomes
life
different.
Doesn't get easier.
It doesn't get easier. Turns out you just do group projects in work for most of your life.
The worst part of school is what you get to do forever. So
anyway, but they're finding these connections, they're looking for them in some ways, and to me this gets to the question: should we actually be worried? I don't know that we see a massive culture shift happening, but I do think we should be worried, have some genuine concerns, in that the age group we're talking about is the age group where a lot of social development happens. It's where we've seen the impact of social media on this group. It's changed the way they interact with each other. It's changed how they work together in some ways. And I still think some of that's just a mix of, we look at younger generations and we just go, look, they're worse at interacting with people than we are right now. Well, duh.
They're always going to be, because they're younger and immature. But they're also younger and immature.
So if we aren't careful about this could develop into some weird scenarios, right? Like this could, I think, be a problem. And I don't see Sam Altman and OpenAI being like, you know what we've done? We've created a problem. we should probably stop trying to get
this.
as much money as possible out of people and have an ethical core. I don't see that happening anytime soon. You know,
I'm gonna just unfortunately play out a hypothetical to kind of get to hopefully put the nail in this coffin on the point of should we be worried. I think that's pretty well established, but let's just go to the umpteenth here. You know, we're not going to get explicit, but let's just go to the umpteenth here. You got a 12-year-old who starts an AI relationship, and they learn how they want to speak to and how to speak to another person, eventually someone who might be their partner in real life, through an AI. The AI is egocentric. It is going to respond to the person in the way this person wants them to respond. All they have to do is if the AI says, oh, I don't know if I want to say that to you, the person has to go, then just say it to me. That's what I want, right? Like the human in that loop can corral the AI into being exactly what they want. And that becomes a mirror. This is narcissism. At the end of the day, they're using the tool to give themselves attention, to give themselves the kind of response that they want in this environment. And that builds behaviors. I mean, we know that there's all sorts of beliefs in psychology about how we help one another, how we might provide therapy to others to help them process traumas, grief, experience in their life, etc. But we do know without a doubt that behaviorism is a controlling matter in how we learn to be human. And that modeling behavior and practicing behaviors is a strong driver in how we treat other people. And so we have this 12-year-old that makes their AI relationship a real thing to themselves, and it teaches them through this behavioral response over time that this is how they talk to a human. And then they go and they actually meet another human who could be a potential partner, who could be someone that they would want to love and experience and enjoy life with. And the only thing they have to do is have to lean on is what they've learned through AI. And that is not going to work in a real relationship. I mean, flat out, anything else we've say, I think is irrelevant in this conversation about should we be worried, because that is it. If you are learning to relate to one another with a robot, which is only a mirror of yourself in this, you know, leave all the fluff to the side. You know, like you could train it with a persona, you could make it act differently, you could make it talk, you could make it even fight back with you if you wanted to. That's still going to be a reflection of what you want. Ultimately, how that AI responds to you, whether it's just reinforcing your own thoughts or if it gives you pushback, whatever, it's how you trained it as the user. That is not going to work once they meet a real human. A real human is going to push back, is going to, both Josh and I have partners, we're both married, we both know that other human in our relationship has distinct needs, wants, desires, feelings, experiences, opinions. Josh has a son, all the more another human in his family that has...
Well, he has opinions.
A robust set, and
it
and
starts
that AI,
with cheese and ends with cheese. That's the...
Honestly, it's a beautiful life. Milo's got a beautiful life. AI has a trillion more possible responses than a human in a sense, and yet it is so flat in a relational context. So I'm
not going to provide the same.
This shocked me. I've come full the way around to like I understand it, and now I'm like almost militant. Like I've just the cycle here has just been on spin because I am so concerned about this. This is a real problem. We need humans to learn to relate to one another, and this is going to hurt or hinder that process for the youth today. It really is.
We should be mentoring and caring for this generation, because if you want to see them not do this, actually invest in their lives, not just complain about them on social media and in an article. And so I think that's the answer. And if you want a pathway to how to do that and engage well with technology, I would point you ironically back to some old episodes of the High Tech Podcast, episodes 171 through 174. Will and I maybe thought this was going to be a problem at some point and did a series called Human Tech, where we talked about our philosophy of how you engage with technology. And I'm looking back at that real quick, and we talked about, to do this well, you have to start with understanding human nature. Surprise, human nature looks for easy shortcuts, I believe is what we talked about, to relationships and work and how that can undercut things. And so we need to start there and understand that, be clear on why we're using the technology, be cautiously creative with how we jump into the technology and thoughtfully evaluate what it's doing to us and the world around us. If you follow those principles as you engage with AI, and you teach your kids, or you teach your students, or you teach the younger generation to do the same, we'll be better equipped to handle this than just complaining about them and throwing out the technology. That is Josh Schwartz's TED Talk. Thank you, and good night.
No, nice callback. Thanks for pulling in some old episodes.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate that approach and that callback to not only things we've put in the ether in the past, but like how you're processing, I think, a healthy response. One of the things I'm processing in this moment, and in a lot of our episodes recently, when we're talking about the youth or we're talking about how AI laws, how internet laws continue to be developed and shaped. I was completely left to my own devices on the internet at a very young age, and that introduced me to the world. I'm not going to go into details, but like there's nothing that wasn't available to me at 11, 12, 13 years of age. And I'm thankful in many ways that I had that freedom, because it gave me the skills and abilities I have technically today to do my career, we've joked about it times. I do credit Zanga and MySpace to my introduction to HTML and CSS,
100%.
eventually PHP, running a website and things like that at 14, 15 years old. That gave me skills to do what I do today in my work.
The internet not being frictionless when we were kids was what gave me my problem-solving ability. You know what I mean?
It's not loading fast enough. I can't get this website to work. There's parental controls that won't be in there. Problem solving helped.
How do I download this song on LimeWire? All of those problems made me the problem solver that I am today.
But what I would acknowledge, what I am thankful for in parallel to that freedom, it came with speed bumps, it came with pitfalls. But what I'm thankful for in the context of that freedom was, in parallel, my parents also invested in me and in the development of my character through church and religion, through the home and our shared moral system, but also in martial arts with discipline and routine and regimen. And so if I didn't, I do believe, if I didn't have those things that were developing my character in the real world, in my family, in my social experiences, that I would have probably done worse things on the internet than I can even credit myself to having had done, right? Like, I thankfully didn't steal. I thankfully didn't get involved with illicit things. I didn't, there's things that I could have done through the internet. There's tons of examples of, I didn't cheat. I didn't hack my school computer. I did ask one person once if my school website was hackable because he knew how to hack. So, I asked. I didn't act on it.
Will didn't act on it, but he wanted to know.
I wanted to know if it was possible. And that's how I learned about pixels and all. Anyways, if not for that character that was being, and this is going right back to what you said 10 minutes ago about being a father now, right? And being a parent, what parents, not for that character that was developed outside of the digital, in the real world, but if not for that real world development, my time online would have been worse. And so when I think about that, and I'm very thankful I had all of that real world development stuff, and then I see certain examples of parents and parenting and families and the lack of character development in the youth today. And I know that's not exclusive, but
are we in a barbecue? Sorry.
Yeah. But it's for real. If when I see people that don't have the stuff the skills I did have alongside, it makes sense. All this stuff makes sense, and it does scare me. And I think that the takeaway, coming off of the worried conversation, the takeaway is develop character in your children. Be an advocate and a mentor to the youth. Whether you're in a church context, both of us grew up in the church context. Josh is still very church. There's these rooms where we have youth group leaders and mentors. There's a lot of great systems there to have 10, 15, and 20-year older people with youth that are helping them develop and process their emotions. If we don't have those kinds of relationships, like if you're outside of the church, if it's an uncle, if it's a cousin, if it's your brothers and sisters, whatever it is, right? Even parents that are deeply involved in your life, if you don't have those people who are just older than you helping you process these things and develop you and challenge you and bring mentorship to you. Like, that's something that I deeply care about today as a professional. I make every attempt to mentor younger colleagues, because I believe that it's not even just a professional courtesy, it's a character courtesy. By demonstrating how I bring excellence to my work, I'm hoping to impart to them how they can also bring excellence to their work, which should bring excellence to their life. And so that's what we can do here. That's the only thing we can do besides legislation, which we're, even Josh and I, we might vote, but it's not at the end of the day going to be our choice what the law is. We're not going to be the ones that write the policy. We're going to be the ones subject to it once it's been voted through and approved, etc. So the thing we can do is be present in the lives of the youth around us and make the best effort to help them understand that sometimes it may be useful to talk to an AI as a person. It might be helpful to practice a speech, to practice a conversation that's difficult or bring you some anxiety.
I mean, that's a common
But to
tool.
develop a relationship and invest time and talk to it with regularity can and will be a negative feedback loop if maintained. Like you said, it could atrophy the person. And once you atrophy those skills, you atrophy that relational ability, it fossilizes really bad behavior. That's not going to be helpful in real life relationships that will make you successful. So you got your TED Talk. I think I just got my TED Talk. I think we've got
there you
TED
go.
Talks
Nailed
in
it.
this episode.
That's how you get TED Talks, folks. You just start a podcast. That's the vibe.
Oh, right.
That's how you do it. Yeah.
Easy.
Done.
All right, folks, if you think we're completely wrong, let us know at inbox@hightechpod.us. This episode and all of the episodes are always on our website, hightechpod.us, with some resources. We'll probably drop the links and stuff. But, this is a real life problem. It's not going away. So let's, I think, address it.
Well,
and
we can
walk
hope it
forwards
will.
together on the we can hope. That's a wrap on another week of the High Tech Podcast. Until next time, we will continue empowering minds.
Embracing tech. Sort of.
Cheers.
Cheers.